My assistants, set down your tools. We have done well today.
The inventory of the records is nearly complete, Archivist.
Nearly is not complete, but it will do for today. Roll them carefully.
Archivist. You mentioned, yesterday when we were cataloging the 18th Dynasty section, you said there was a story.
I say a great many things. Most of them go unheard. That is generally how I prefer it.
The woman Pharaoh. You said perhaps one evening you might...
Perhaps is not a promise. Perhaps is what a wise man says when he wants 5 minutes of peace. Oh, all right. How many of you are there?
All of us, Archivist.
Sit down then, all of you. And do not interrupt me. Her name was Hatshepsut. Egypt in the early 18th dynasty was not the Egypt of the pyramid builders. That world was already 1,500 years old. The new kingdom, the Egypt of Hatshepsut, was something different. A military empire, a trading empire, a civilization at the absolute height of its confidence and its reach. She was born around 1507 BC, the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I and his great royal wife, Ahmose. Her father was one of Egypt's great warrior kings, a man who pushed Egypt's borders south into Nubia and north into Syria. She grew up watching him command armies, receive tribute, conduct the sacred rites of kingship. And she was his favorite. She tells us this herself, in her own inscriptions. This woman understood the power of a story. She understood that the person who writes the record is the person who shapes what is remembered. That irony will matter later. But before we speak of politics, we must speak of her nature. In Egypt, these were not separate things. On the walls of her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, Hatshepsut commissioned the story of her own birth. The god Amun-Ra, Lord of all the gods, Father of creation, Master of Karnak, and of everything the sun touches, visited her mother Ahmose, and from that union Hatshepsut was conceived. The great god Khnum shaped her divine spirit, her Ka, on his potter's wheel. The gods declared that the coming child would rule all Egypt. She was presented as an infant to the divine court of heaven itself. This is not biography, this is theology. In Egyptian understanding, the pharaoh was not merely chosen by the gods. The pharaoh was of the gods. And Hatshepsut did not merely claim this. She had it inscribed in extraordinary detail in the most beautiful temple Egypt had ever seen, so it would stand for eternity. She was the daughter of Amun-Ra. This was not arrogance. This was the sacred architecture of legitimacy, built in stone because stone outlasts doubt. And if you were an Egyptian, if you truly believed, as every Egyptian did, that the gods moved through the world and that the divine order of Ma'at held all things in their proper place, then who could stand against the daughter of Amun-Ra? Who would dare? When Thutmose I died, the throne passed to his son by a secondary wife, Thutmose II, and Hatshepsut, daughter of the great royal wife, married him. That is how it worked. Royal daughters did not inherit the throne directly. They legitimized the men who did. But Hatshepsut was not simply a royal wife. She held a title that carried more religious and political weight than almost any other in Egypt: God's wife of Amun. Understand what that meant. The Temple of Amun at Karnak was not merely a religious institution. It was the wealthiest, most powerful organization in Egypt, controlling vast estates, commanding armies of priests, shaping the spiritual life of the entire civilization. And the god's wife was its highest female office. She was the earthly consort of Amun himself, the living presence of the divine feminine at the heart of Egypt's most sacred institution. When Thutmose II died, he was not by any account a particularly strong king. He left behind a son from another woman in the royal household. The boy, Thutmose III, was perhaps 2 years old. Hatshepsut became regent. This was not unusual. Queens had governed as regents before. What happened next was Hatshepsut declared herself Pharaoh. Roughly 7 years into her regency, not queen consort, not queen mother, Pharaoh, king of Upper and Lower Egypt. She adopted the full titles of kingship. She wore the double crown, the false beard. And yet the inscriptions sometimes used feminine pronouns, as if Egypt's scribes were navigating something that had no precedent, no language adequate to the fact of her. What Hatshepsut did was not defy her society. She emerged from within its structures, absorbed every tool it offered, every title, every sanction, and then exceeded every limit it had imagined for her. That is a more remarkable thing than simple defiance. Defiance is easy. What she did was hard. Hatshepsut ruled Egypt for approximately 22 years, and she built her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, Djeser-Djeseru, the Holy of Holies. 3 colonnaded terraces rising against the golden cliffs of the west bank at Luxor, perfectly proportioned, perfectly placed, the architecture in conversation with the natural world, as though the building and the cliff behind it were always meant to be together. Designed by her steward Senenmut, a man of non-royal birth, whom she elevated to one of the most powerful positions in Egypt. That in itself tells you something about her. With only the Great Pyramid as a possible exception, there is no more impressive monument in Egypt. Not the temples of Ramesses, not Abu Simbel for all its grandeur, not the Great Hall of Karnak itself. She also erected 2 obelisks at Karnak, the tallest in Egypt, their summits sheathed in shining metal, so they blazed across the Nile Valley when the sun caught them. She knew what that meant. She said so herself. To give you her words, their rays flood the 2 lands when a 10 dawns between them, as he rises in heaven's light land. The things we build in stone outlast the people who come to destroy us. She knew that when she built them. She was right. In the 9th year of her reign, she sent 5 ships to the land of Punt, a trading partner Egypt had not reached in a generation. Somewhere in the region of what we now call Eritrea or Somalia, a place of incense trees and ebony and living wonders. They returned laden, myrrh trees, ebony, ivory, living animals, incense. The whole expedition is recorded on the walls of Deir el-Bahri in extraordinary detail. This was not merely commerce, it was a declaration. A pharaoh who can send ships to the edges of the known world, who can return with the trees of the gods themselves, who records it all in stone for eternity. This is a ruler of consequence. She was building the monument and the record simultaneously. She always was. On the base of her great obelisk at Karnak, she wrote, not the usual repeated praise of a pharaoh's achievements, something more personal, something that lets us hear her across 35 centuries, as she actually was. Excuse an old man as he attempts to bring her words to life. I have done this from a loving heart for my father Amun, initiated in his secret of the beginning, acquainted with his beneficent might. I did not forget anything he had ordained. My majesty knows his divinity. I acted under his command. It was he who led me. I did not plan any works without his doing. It was he who gave directions. I did not sleep because of his temple. I did not stray from that which he commanded. My heart was wise before my father. I entered into the plans of his heart. And then, further along the inscription, she turned to face the future directly. She was speaking to anyone who might one day stand before that stone and wonder why it was built. She was speaking to us, just as I say her words to you. Beware of saying, I know not, I know not. Why has this been done? I swear, as I am loved of Ra, as Amun my father favors me, as my nostrils are refreshed with life and dominion, as sky endures, as his creation lasts, as I shall be eternal like an undying star, as I shall rest in life like autumn. She wrote those words to last forever. Remember that. Hatshepsut is gone from the record. We do not know how she died. There is no certain tomb, no confirmed account. She simply ceases to appear. And what follows is worse than silence. Her statues are being smashed, her images chiseled from temple walls, her name prized from inscriptions and replaced in the king lists with those of her father and her stepson, as though she never held the crook and flail. The boy she governed beside, Thutmose I, who was to become one of Egypt's great warrior pharaohs, rules now alone. And somewhere, someone acting in his name had taken a chisel to the memory of her. as sky endures, as his creation lasts. Stone is patient. Stone remembers what men try to make it forget. I am an old man, and I have spent my life in this archive. And the one thing I know with certainty is this: she built to be found. I believe she will be.
So, she was real.
Yes, she was the most real thing in this archive.
Sleep well, Archivist.